the live stream going here on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. We stream all of our shows live, and all right, here we are. We're online. Perfect. It's a sunny day in Chattanooga. Oh my goodness, it's hot. Did you catch Patrick Core in the weather? Because it's hot. It's really hot. And I think that Mr. Core could just let us know that it's hot. I think that pretty much covers the temperature today. Just very, very hot. Just real hot. We've got a lot of things to talk about today. The NFL has admitted to the fact that big hits contribute to CTE or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It took me forever to figure out how to pronounce that before the show. And it's basically just head trauma. And there are 4 stages of it. The PBS did an amazing documentary on it called League of Denial. They explain everything that the NFL has been denying for ages. The NFL finally comes out and admits, yes, the hits to the head can contribute. There's a correlation between CTE and big hits to the head. I thought we knew this already. In fact, I thought the NFL admitted it, but I guess not. This is the first time that they are publicly coming out and admitting it. And so we're going to break into all of that because, of course, there are a ton of problems with that. There are moral and ethical conundrums that go at the NFL level and work their way on down from college and youth football at all levels. So we'll get into that. We'll also get into Goose Gossage and other old timers, legends of their sports, and how they react to modern day players. I really think that's an interesting topic because there's a ton of controversy there, and I didn't want to get into it because I don't want to turn into young people versus old people and all those things. But there is a point where you are just so get off of my lawn that you have crossed the line. You've crossed the line. I think you got to be inclusive here, embrace people. But before we jump into any of all of those things, and we will get to all of those things, I'd like to let you know you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. I do appreciate every second that you listen to the show. Cannot stress that enough. You can find us in a lot of different places. We talk about the platforms every day. Where can you find us? Where can we find you? Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are the best places to go. You can reply to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have a lot of news stories for you to dig through, and we'd love to hear your opinions, and we do respond to you. We'd love to have a conversation with you. So let's open up that dialogue. Also, you can find us on hotnewstalkradio.com. We stream 24/7, 365. You want to catch a show during the day, maybe your signal's not so great, maybe you're in an office building or what have you, then you can pull it up, stream us. And you can also find us in the TuneIn Radio app, entirely free. You can get it in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for your Apple and Android device. Search Hot News Talk Radio, give us a follow, press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So without further ado, let's jump into the topic of the NFL here, because I think that we've just got a plethora of things to dissect here. We know about CTE. Okay, we've seen the effects of CTE on a lot of players of the game. It's been denied by the NFL. There was a movie made about it with Will Smith, concussion. I'm sure you've heard of it. And so this is a topic that's been knocked around because the way that we view football is it's the king of everything. It's the king. It's not just the king of all the sports in America. It's the king of like everything. There are shows that have been on the air for ages, all of your NCISs, all of your CSIs, and the highest rated of those shows is among the lowest rated football games. The NFL on Fox, year in and year out, is one of the highest rated TV shows ever, annually. They break their own records. There's like no stopping the NFL. We know all of the things that we know about brain trauma and about head trauma, and you still can't slow down the NFL, which is incredible because you can do that with other sports. Other sports have momentum that can be stopped by actual scandals. Okay, you remember the NBA years back with I think it was Phil Donahue, the ref that ended up retiring because he was caught fixing games. A lot of NBA fans lost faith in the NBA because that was happening. He just ruined the reputation of the league. You look at steroids in baseball, the great race between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa for the single season home run record, and you find out both guys are roiding and cheating. And then, of course, the whole situation with Barry Bonds that just wound up going on and on and on forever. And you're looking at a sport in baseball that's just now recovering from its steroid scandal. The momentum of that sport got stopped by a scandal of some kind. There are things that you can do that will stop most sports. Okay? 2 sports in this world you cannot stop. You cannot stop the NFL. You just can't stop it. Head trauma, steroids, doesn't matter. That's a story. You can't stop it. You can't stop soccer internationally. Okay? FIFA is corrupt. They're a corrupt organization. America can't get a World Cup because you've got to bribe somebody to get one, and you still can't stop the World Cup. All right, I talked about this with a friend of mine, and he was like, It's soccer though. You just have to watch it. He's from Jamaica, and internationally, soccer is so huge. You can't stop soccer. Okay, and so it doesn't matter what we learn about this, and I think that's the most discouraging thing. And by the way, I'm not preaching at you. I'm involved in this as well. I watch a lot of football. Okay, we watch football. We watch. The reason why the NFL won't do anything about head trauma is because we watch football. We watch bad games. We watch when there's no football to be had. We watch the draft. Peyton retires. It's all over YouTube. We watch that. I break it down on this show. Free agency. We watch that. The Hall of Fame induction. We watch that. Our ongoing sports conversation is as such that we love football and we love waiting for football to come back. Those are our 2 favorite sports. You can't stop this thing. But we've known about head trauma. The Boston University in 2002 started doing research on the brains of 50 former football players and found traces of CTE in all of the brains. And one player was as young as 17 years old. CTE is supposed to be a rare disease. But when you are colliding with other people moving at speeds of a slow car collision constantly, when you're colliding with those people and colliding as often as many players collide, what ends up happening is your chances of getting CTE and struggling with that disease go up dramatically. There is a protein that starts to build up in the brain when you hit your head incredibly hard. It's a tau protein, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's spelled TAU. It's a tau protein, and it starts to build up. And the more head collisions you have, the more it builds up. And it builds up, and CTE comes from the 4 phases of this tau protein degenerating your brain, like literally causing your brain to wither away. In the first stage, there aren't any symptoms, right? There's spots of protein on the brain, but there aren't any symptoms. You don't start acting weird. You're not doing anything differently. You're just you. You've had 1 or 2 collisions, right? Then in stage 2, you start to experience rage and depression. You start to experience rage and depression. And let's go, stage 3, you experience confusion and memory loss. And we've had people like Terry Bradshaw say that that's something that they struggle with. That the memory loss is something that they struggle with. And I'm going to move over here for just a second, folks. I'm not sure exactly what's up with the microphone, but I'm low. Let's get moving. But basically, if we can get this going, but here's the deal with with CTE, in the last stage of CTE, you experience, and check this out, advanced dementia. And we've seen older NFL players experience exactly that long after their careers are over. And so the NFL admitting this has ramifications for not just the NFL, but for every level that football is played on. Right? Like, then you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. On every level that football is played on, you have all of these issues, and we're talking about high school kids. High school kids have already died playing football, and that cannot stop football. If that can't stop football, like, nothing can. That's the discouraging thing there. You can't derail football with dead kids. Okay, and you have to. Youth football has actually seen an increase over the past year over all other sports that kids could be playing. There's more kids playing football. There's more kids playing flag football, to be honest, but also tackle football has seen an increase as well. So it's not like you've seen it slow down at all. You'd think with information like this coming out year after year after year, and we've been entrenched in this for a few years now as the NFL has tried to scramble around and cover it up, you'd think with this new information coming out that would mean something. But in all honesty, it hasn't meant that much. It hasn't stopped anybody from playing football. And that's the part that I find very discouraging. You cannot slow down the NFL for any reason. And that's truly depressing. And I know I sound like a broken record, but the Thursday night football games were bad. And they were bad for a number of reasons, one of which being that both teams were on a shorter week. Both teams played shorter weeks of football. You'd play Sunday, and then instead of having an entire week to recover like you usually would, you're still hurting from Sunday, and you're playing only a few days later on a Thursday. And that's why those games were so awful. It's more dangerous for the players. None of the players actually enjoyed doing it. None of the players enjoyed Thursday night football. We didn't enjoy watching it. They didn't enjoy playing it, but the NFL didn't care. They just kept running it out there. And instead of voting with our wallets, instead of telling the NFL, like, we don't want this, we don't want your bad football, we just kept watching it. The NFL already owns one day of the week, and they want more, but it's more dangerous for them to do that. Unless they're willing to extend the season and actually give guys time to recover between games. Football is such a brutal sport. Having kids play football is a dangerous, dangerous proposition, to the point where you see guys like LeBron, who are physical monsters, could have played any sport that they wanted to because of how athletically gifted they are and because of the size that they have. You're able to see guys like that basically dominate any game they want to. Like, if you were a person like that, why would you ever play football? Like, I look at guys that are former basketball players in the NFL, like Jimmy Graham. I look at guys that played other sports, and I go, why would you ever play football? If I had a kid that was talented enough to make it in any league, they're playing baseball. And we'll talk about baseball in a little bit too. But they're playing baseball because there's no chance that they're going to destroy themselves playing a game for the entertainment of other people. And this brings me to the NCAA, okay? Because the NCAA doesn't pay their players. You hear the argument in the NFL, well, they're being compensated for it. And as we learn this information, you could just stop playing. Like, if you learn that this game is destroying your brain, you could just stop playing. But you don't. But in college football, you're not being compensated at all. You're not getting paid, and you're getting an education, and you're actually telling someone that you should risk your health and your life for an education. Well, that hardly seems fair, does it? That you're trading the possibility that whatever thing it is that you learn with that education, the possibility that you could even do that successfully, you are trading off to play football. That is absurd. I mean, that is beyond absurd, really. You're trading off your health and your future to play football, and nobody's paying you to do it. You're not being compensated in any way because people do dangerous jobs, if we're completely honest. The NFL just happens to be a dangerous job that's very entertaining, but people do dangerous jobs. People go on those deadliest catch, those fishing boats to catch crabs so that you can eat them, and you could die out at sea. You could get washed overboard, and they'll never find you. You are gone. But that doesn't stop people from doing that job, and we're not particularly outraged about that, for people's ability to eat crab. In the NFL, there is outrage because the risks of fishing, of going crab catching on those dangerous boats is pretty straightforward, okay? You're going out into giant storms, giant waves. You could be washed overboard. You could be crushed by a crab cage, and that's all she wrote. But at least you know the risks straight up. The NFL has been lying, and it's been lying for years, and they're only now telling the truth, and you have to wonder where the moral compass of this went. The NFL even could have gotten to the point where they're like, you know what? Every year we set up the table and we try and make money for breast cancer awareness, which, by the way, the NFL keeps like 99% of the money that comes from that proceeds. Like it doesn't actually help breast cancer patients as much as you want to believe it does. The NFL pockets a good chunk of all of that stuff because, again, greed. But the NFL could do something like that with brain trauma victims. They could do something like that with brain trauma and show that they actually care. But that level of greed will not allow you to do that. And it won't allow you to admit that you're wrong and that you're endangering the lives of your employees. And no, a lot of the older NFL players, while the NFL was lying, while the NFL knew how dangerous this was and was not upfront about the risks, while they knew that, they didn't have severance packages for a lot of these older players, that you play in the league with an opportunity to have advanced dementia 20, 30 years down the road, and the NFL's not taking care of you? I mean, come on. That's just flat out wrong. It is beyond morally reprehensible. And the only thing as bad as that is that we continue to support it. We continue to watch it. And again, I'm not talking down to anybody. I watch the NFL all the time. I mean, I'm a Redskins fan. I watch every week. I have nothing to watch for. Like, if you've seen the Redskins for the past 5 or 6 years, it's not like there's anything to watch for. There isn't anything. They were terrible. I was watching a lot of losing football, and the NFL was just soaking up that money. And we won't stop. And I don't know anymore what it is that could derail the NFL. Because at this point, dying veterans of the game can't sway the NFL. Dying children can't sway the NFL. Nothing sways the popularity of this game. And I understand that all sports have their run. There was a time when baseball had the popularity of football in this country, and where that all went and how fast that all went, I'll have no idea. But there was a time. So, like, football's not going to be king forever. But in the foreseeable future, it's only growing larger and larger. There's nothing to stop it. There's nothing to slow it down. The athletes who play the game for our entertainment are being endangered, and the league is only just now telling the truth. And that's the part that stinks the most, that they've been trying to pull the wool over our eyes like we didn't know. All right, and I don't know if the movie Concussion has helped anything at all, but check out the movie Legal Tonight. It's on Netflix. It's in a lot of places for free. I think you can find it on the PBS website. But that's something that really stinks. You're going to talk about about old-timers and pros and their opinions on current players here on Clutch with Keon Rose. Next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducts. Call now.
We're going to kill them all. We're going to kill them all. Let them cough. Let them wheeze. Let them sneeze. We're going to kill every one of them.
We're going to stop you dead in your tracks. Black mold has been known to mimic ailments such as asthma, emphysema, and other ailments that affect the well-being of your body. Black mold is the silent killer. Fight back today with a free estimate from PuroClean. The paramedics of property damage is PuroClean. Call 875-6136 for your free inspection and estimate today. And no, bleach does not kill mold. In fact, bleach is primarily made up of water and adds more moisture to your mold. The mold experts at PuroClean use proven products and state-of-the-art science equipment. They'll remove all traces of that deadly killer black mold. Call PuroClean now at 875-6136. Plus, your homeowner's insurance may cover it. Call PuroClean today at 875-6136.
We're going to kill every one of them.
Not if PuroClean has anything to do with it. Call PuroClean today at 875-6136.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies to continue through the nighttime. Milder overnight lows into the lower 50s. For the midweek, more warm spring-like weather ahead through Thursday. Becoming breezy but dry, highs into the mid-70s with some showers rolling in later Friday. The Fresh Oil New Wine Conference at Abba's House continues through Thursday. Pastor Ron Phillips welcomes Perry Stone, Tommy Bates, Randy Caldwell, and others for this week of encouragement and renewal. For more, FONW.com. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Superintendent of Hamilton County Schools, Rick Smith, announced his retirement on Monday. He said that last week he intended to finish out his term, which was supposed to end in 2019 at the end of his contract. That changed yesterday when he said, "Today I'm announcing my retirement from Hamilton County Schools. My retirement will be effective July the 1st, 2016. I'll be taking leave effective immediately. Until such time as an interim superintendent is named, day-to-day operations will be delegated to the executive staff members and the administrative assistants." Governor Haslam will have a new bill to sign. The intent of the bill is to assign letter grades to public schools in Tennessee. Supporters say the current system of rating individual schools based on a scale of 1 to 5 can be confusing for parents who may not know that the lower numbers are worse scores. Under the bill sponsored by Representative Glenn Casada of Franklin and fellow Republican Senator Dolores Gresham from Somerville, schools will receive grades A through F to be less confusing.
Hot News Talk 1240. Shake, shake, shake it at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Nooganomics, the most delicious and unique milkshakes. How about this for delicious and different? Add freshly cooked bacon to any milkshake.
Is that even legal?
You bet your milkshake and booty it is. Chocolate caramel bacon shake, coffee caramel shake, all hand blended. Shake, shake, shake it. Down at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Just about any flavor shake that you can imagine. And they are delicious. Get your shake, shake, shake on at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Five Guys Burgers and Fries, located at Hickson at North Point. Gun Barrel at the Walmart Center. Downtown 4th and Broad. And in Cleveland at Keith and Stewart.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Our house in the middle of our street.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at sabrinarealty.com.
Our house in the middle of our street. Our house.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
Are you prepared for severe weather? Do you have a severe weather plan? Do you know how to protect yourself from tornadoes? And most importantly, do you have a weather alert radio? Come to P5 Preparedness and let us help you get ready for severe weather or any other emergency. P5 Preparedness is located on East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel. Look for the Green Army truck. Call us at 423-602-2175. You need to get prepared today. Don't wait until it's too late. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Get the skills and supplies you need or die waiting for help. P5preparedness.com. P5 Preparedness is located on East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
All right, so we've done a lot of talking today about the NFL because it's America's most popular pastime, and there's seemingly nothing we can do about it, regardless of whatever happens with them. So, hey, what do you do when faced with a giant company like the NFL? It seems almost impossible, right? There's so much that game embodies that Americans like, the brutality of it. I think the mythos of it, that we just have a lot of legends in that game. We have so much invested in the NFL, and it's hard to pull back from it, even though we know the things that the NFL is doing, they're sketchy, right? There's shady things that the NFL is doing. And on top of all of that, apart from the inherent shadiness and sketchiness of the league, we also have the problem of the players are at risk. And that's players who have already played, players who are currently in the game, players who are from or who are about to enter the game. They're at risk. Even if you have a child playing football that's probably not going to make it to the NFL, it still behooves you to look into all of this because the dangers of helmet trauma and head-to-head trauma are very real and they exist. And I don't think that they're supposed to be taken lightly because the phases of CTE are as such that when they start out, there are no symptoms to start. And then suddenly depression and anger and so on. So it's a very dangerous, very slippery slope. And I think we're not just doing ourselves a disservice. I think we're doing our youth in this country a disservice to ignore the threat of CTE, regardless of what the NFL says, because they're lying. Okay, they're just now telling the truth. That's the most depressing thing I have ever heard about the game of football. When we have depressing things coming out about the game of football all the time, like Calvin Johnson retires, and he retires because his knees and ankles just can't take the pounding anymore. You've got players leaving the game, just running backs especially leave early just because that position in particular just takes a beating that is just unseen in any other sport ever. You just take a pounding playing that game and you just get used up so quickly. It's awful. It's awful. And then you have guys like Chris Borland retiring from the San Francisco 49ers after being defensive rookie of the year and all of these things. He had a fantastic first season in the league. He read the book by Mark Fainu-Rawada, that the League of Denial documentary that covers the NFL and the head trauma and their lies. The documentary was based on that book, and he read that book and decided he's going to retire. He just didn't think that the risk was worth what he was getting himself into. But not everyone's going to do that, especially if you're a kid, you've been dreaming of being in the NFL your entire life. That's an incredibly hard decision to ask somebody to make. Okay, and so I'm going to awkwardly transition from that into a little bit of baseball talk, because Goose Gossage, former Yankee, he had some things to say about the current generation of baseball players. And the reason why I am made to think about that, and you are listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, the reason why I think about that is because how players react nowadays obviously different from how it was in Goose's day. Okay, and it's not even that we're not that far removed from it, but we have a culture clash going on in Major League Baseball where you have young Latin American players, and not even just Latin American players, because you look at a guy like Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper he's got swagger, and he's cocky, and he's a little bit arrogant, and the older baseball players don't like that. They strongly, strongly dislike that. And the thing that gets a lot of them into trouble is the clash. The older guys see baseball more of a gentleman's game. It's more of something that you do with dignity and class. And if you dance around the bases, you don't have class. And if you flip your bat after you hit a home run, you don't have class. And baseball, it's an unwritten rule. It's not written down anywhere that says that you can't do that. Just guys don't like it when you do that. And in baseball in particular, baseball has got its own form of vigilante justice. It's got its own form of vigilanteism. So in baseball, you wind up in a situation where you do your thing, you dance around the bases or whatever. The next time you go up to bat, the pitcher's going to throw the ball at you. I mean, he's just going to hit you. And that's weird that we have a problem with a guy dancing around bases. That's classless. But your reaction to that is, I'm going to throw an 80-mile-per-hour pitch at you and hit you with it. That's the reaction there. That is unbelievable. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like, the reaction to that is nobody has a problem with the reaction, which is you can't dance, but if you do dance, I'm hitting you with a ball. I'm throwing it at you as hard as I possibly can to injure you. What do we got to wait till somebody dies getting hit with a 90-mile-per-hour ball out of retribution first before we write down that you're not allowed to react to that in that fashion? I mean, imagine that you're a Latin American baseball player, okay? You grow up in a place that's not the richest place that you can grow up. Your dream is to be a baseball player, and you play baseball your whole life, and then you make it to the major leagues, or you make it to the minor leagues, and you struggle in the minor leagues, right? You work your butt off, and you finally make it to the major leagues. You're in the bottom of the ninth, 3-2 count. You hit a home run and the game winner. What are you supposed to calmly rest your bat on the ground and walk around the bases? I'm not saying that I speak for everybody, but I would act the fool. I would flip the bat and do every dance that I possibly know how to do around all the bases. But of course I would, because, hey, that's the biggest moment of my life. Why would you expect someone to not do that? Why would you expect someone to do the least human thing that they could do? Unreal. That's an unreal criticism. So we're talking about Jose Bautista and Yoenis Cespedes. Goose Gossage, who played for the Yankees, he basically got a microphone stuck in his face, and he had some things to say about the current generation of baseball players. And we've got the audio for you there, courtesy of ESPN. Here's Goose Gossage with what he feels about the current state of Major League Baseball.
Can't slide into second base, can't take out the catcher because Posey was in the wrong position. Yeah. And they're going to change all the rules. Yeah. Can't pitch inside anymore. I'd like to knock some of these on their and see how they and face pitchers in the old days. Yeah. Throwing bats in the dugout. Batista's a disgrace to the game. He's embarrassing to all the Latin players that ever played before him. Throwing his bat and acting like a fool, like all those guys in Toronto. Yeah. Cespedes, same thing. Ryan Braun is a steroid user. He gets a standing ovation opening day at Milwaukee. Are you kidding me? Yeah. How do you explain that to your kid? Yeah. All of a sudden he's a hero after throwing guys under the bus, getting people fired, and lying through his teeth. Yeah. These people, they don't have anybody passing the torch to these kids.
So that required an unnecessary amount of censorship. So thank you for that, Mr. Gossage. But here's the thing, okay? He covered a lot in that audio clip. Goose Gossage, his opinion on flipping your bat and dancing around the bases, that it's completely classless. But why? There's just so many things that we could talk about here. Why go after all the Latin American players with that? Why is he ashamed to Latin American players? Like, he's not ashamed to the game of baseball. He's ashamed to his entire geographical region that he comes from. What does that even mean? That's the craziest way to ever word that or say that. There is nothing wrong with these guys doing this, but there's something wrong with baseball when you are asking people who are human with human emotions to suppress those emotions in the name of class, which is a made-up construct. Because if you look back at the older baseball players, okay, the stuff that Babe Ruth did when he would hit home runs would get him hit with a baseball these days. It's not like we were just always filled with class. It's that the game is so old that rules have emerged in the game. Rules have emerged that, again, frame the way that we view the game over time. And these rules aren't written down. There's just things that you just do. And somebody comes from a different culture than you, a different baseball culture than you. Okay, there's a little bit more bravado in that culture. There's a little bit more celebration in Latin American culture. They're not as demure. They express themselves. And that's okay, except everyone in baseball, especially the old timers, the legends of the game, are saying that no, that's not okay. Like, who are you to make these rules? Who are you to do that? And I actually agree what he said there at the end about Ryan Braun using steroids and then getting a standing ovation. That does seem to be really weird, because it's just like, he's a cheater, he's a liar, he's dirty. We beat him up in the media for it, and then as soon as he gets back out on the field, he gets a standing ovation. For what? Cheating? I don't understand that. He's right about that. But he's wrong about Cespedes. I mean, these guys aren't harming the game. And he also, in that clip, mentioned Buster Posey, who was in position incorrectly and got his collarbone broken. So the league changed the rules that you cannot run through a catcher to try and get to home plate, to try and break up the play, to not get out. And that's how Buster Posey got injured. He had the ball. He was going to tag the runner. He blocked home plate with his body, and the runner ran through him, breaking his collarbone. So they changed the rule on that. And Goose Gossage is saying that they shouldn't have changed the rule just because Posey was out of position. But they should change the rule. You being out of position shouldn't be a reason for you to be injured with a possible career-ending injury. That is absurd. That is absurd. Your career could be over. Bad technique shouldn't end your career. No, I think they're right to change the rule on that one. But Goose Gossage, we have the old tough guy bravado that he was in that era of the game, and we're all supposed to play like that, and we're all supposed to be like that. Just a bunch of tough guys, rub some dirt on it, and the pain will go away. I mean, there's so many things wrong with that just on the level of the game itself, where you're saying that there's a wrong way to play the game of baseball with rules that aren't written down. If those rules are so important, why didn't somebody write them down? Why didn't somebody write them down? And these unwritten rules are making the game old and are making the game boring and are making the game stale. Millennials don't want to watch it. The next generation coming up of sports fans, unless you grew up with your parents watching baseball and they sat you down and watched baseball with you, you're not watching baseball on your own time. Okay? The game doesn't move as at quick a pace as basketball. It doesn't move at the pace of hockey. It doesn't move at the pace of football. And football's a dead ball sport too. Football moves, honestly, if you just go from the amount of time that the games take, football moves just as slowly as baseball does. But the presentation is a faster presentation, and people appreciate that more. Bigger plays are celebrated and are respected in the NFL. They're not respected in Major League Baseball. And Bryce Harper had some things to say about that. Bryce Harper had an awesome interview with ESPN. And in the interview, Bryce Harper was saying that these rules are weighing down the game, and that's why people don't want to watch baseball anymore. And as you can imagine, when they put the microphone in Goose Gossage's face again, he had some things to say to Mr. Bryce Harper.
Let it go to hell, because that's where it's headed. And you're going to let a young punk like Bryce Harper dictate this game? Are you serious? Do it as a professional. You can do whatever you don't have to style around the bases. You don't have to do all the frickin' antics because the camera's on you. That's the difference in the game today. No, I do not agree with him at all.
And here's the thing, Mr. Goose Gossage. We're not letting Bryce Harper dictate the game, whether or not he is a punk, which is a different, I mean, why throw that insult out there, but fine. Whether or not Bryce Harper is a punk is not the issue. We're not letting Bryce Harper dictate the game. Have you seen Bryce Harper's numbers? He's like prime Barry Bonds right now. Bryce Harper is dictating the game, whether we like it or not. He's the best player in baseball. Maybe you've got an argument to put Mike Trout over him, but he's right there. He's right there. He deserves the MVP that he won last year. We're not letting Bryce Harper dictate the game of baseball. Bryce Harper is dictating the game of baseball. That is an absolute fact. And you look at the game of football, the celebrations, the fact that guys are allowed to be themselves, the fact that you know that when Cam scores a touchdown, two things are going to happen. He's going to dab, and he's going to give a football to a little kid in the front of the crowd. That's exciting. You want Cam to score a touchdown. When you see certain players getting ready to score, you know something good's going to happen. Steph Curry's going to shoot a three. He's going to hit you with that little shimmy shake. LeBron James is going to be raising the roof. You've got things in these games that are exciting. And baseball, what does anybody do? What does anybody do? Nothing. They're not allowed to. And they're pinned back by these old rules. And it's not to disrespect the legends of the game. Like, the way that they played was fine in the era that they played it in the context of that era. It's okay. But you can't control the generation that comes after you. You can't tell the generation that comes after you how to play the game and how not to play the game. They've got to forge their own path, and they're going to hand that torch on to the next group of players. And I see that happen in the NBA too, except it's not guys saying how you can play the game, but who could have played the game in their era. And it's interesting because if you've looked into sociology at all, and I'm not trying to pretend to be a smart person, I've looked into sociology at literally the most basic level. Like, I took a psychology class in college once, and the sociology chapter is what I remember vaguely. But if you've looked at sociology at all, we know about in-groups and out-groups, that when you have an in-group, you protect people in your group. If you're a fan of Tennessee and Alabama and Ole Miss, you know what I'm talking about. Tennessee fans and Alabama fans don't mix well unless you hear something from a broadcaster like Danny Cannell or a broadcaster like Colin Cowherd, who says things about the SEC, the conference that both of your teams play in, and all of a sudden you're not defending just Tennessee, you're defending the whole SEC. You'll defend Alabama from Colin Cowherd because the SEC deserves to be defended. That's what these older players are doing when you've got a guy like Oscar Robertson coming out and saying that the game is not physical anymore, and that if you had a guy like Steph Curry, he wouldn't be able to do what he does in that era because they push him around. And then you've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming in and agreeing with the lack of physicality in the game. Okay? And you've got Steven Jackson's not even a legend. Steven Jackson is not even an old-time legend. He played in the generation just previous to this one. He's not that far removed from the game. And he thinks that his Warriors team from 2006, 2007 would beat this Warriors team easily. To which I say, no, sir. That's not even true. If you played a 7-game series with this Warriors team, they'd sweep you. And it wouldn't be close. But that aside, you just have players who've played the game before poo-pooing the guys who are playing the game now. And you've heard this criticism of LeBron James as well. He's too soft. He couldn't play in our generation. And it's funny. It's funny because you look at the guys who are criticizing Steph Curry, they weren't shooters. The guys who were criticizing Steph weren't shooters. The shooters of the last generation and the generation before that even, they're just amazed by what Steph is doing. They don't have a problem with it at all. Guys like Reggie Miller and Dennis Scott have stepped up in defense of Steph Curry, and Dennis Scott even said, notice that the shooters don't have a problem with Steph. The shooters see the skill in what he's doing and understand that and appreciate the greatness that's happening before their eyes. It's the players who didn't have that aspect of their game that they're having their trouble wrapping their mind around the fact that a guy can pull up from 25 feet and a shot that used to be a bad shot in their era isn't a bad shot anymore. Okay? Something that maybe might have been called a carry in their era isn't a carry. The game changes. It's impossible to compare the two eras, okay? In my top 5 of all-time point guards, Isaiah Thomas, who has criticized Steph Curry, and Oscar Robertson are on the list. They're 2 of the greatest that have ever played it. That can never be taken away from them, no matter how great Steph is. And so it hurts. It must hurt. And Steph has come out and said that he's been annoyed by the criticism, which I think he's more than annoyed. But he's been annoyed by the criticism because you're just trying to do your thing. You're just trying to do what you do the best way that you can. And here are these guys that played the game before you, that handed the torch off to you, almost sounding like they want to take the torch back. Like, our bad, we handed the torch off to the wrong people. But you're not disgracing the game. You've changed it. You're shooting shots they could never make and making them. You're doing moves they could never do and finishing them. And not just you, but Damian Lillard and Kyrie Irving and John Wall and Chris Paul, and just name a point guard in this era. They do things that guys in the last era couldn't do. Russell Westbrook, Tony Parker, pick one. The eras are completely different, and it's just unfair to compare the two, whether you played the game or not. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose, and we've got a big show tomorrow. We are one day closer to the tournament. The beginning of the first 4 games is today, but the first 4, that's not really the tournament. And you even look at the bracket, it doesn't update until after those games are done. So we'll talk about UTC and their chances for making a tournament run. It might be more plausible than you think. You've been listening to Clutch.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Shake, shake, shake it at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. The most delicious and unique milkshakes. How about this for delicious and different? Add freshly cooked bacon to any milkshake.
Is that even legal?
You bet your milkshake and booty it is. Chocolate caramel bacon shake. Coffee caramel shake. All hand blended. Shake, shake, shake it. Down at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Just about any flavor shake that you can imagine. And they are delicious. Get your shake, shake, shake on at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Five Guys Burgers and Fries, located at Hickson at North Point. Gun Barrel at the Walmart Center. Downtown 4th and Broad. And in Cleveland at Keith and Stewart.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Our house in the middle of our street.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
A critical day in campaign 2016. Primaries in 5 states that could prove decisive tonight. Voters' heads are spinning.
I think the Democrats have moved to the center and the Republicans have moved into an insane asylum.
This is the CBS World News Roundup, late edition. I'm Bill Whitney. This could be a make or break night for some presidential campaigns. Correspondent Stephen Portnoy is at the election desk.
3 of tonight's contests are in the Midwest, and Bernie Sanders aims to repeat his Michigan upset last week in Ohio, Missouri, and Illinois tonight. But Hillary Clinton has strength in the South, Florida, and North Carolina. Donald Trump hopes to vanquish his rivals, with Ohio Governor John Kasich and Florida Senator Marco Rubio going all in for victories in their home states, both winner-take-all on the Republican side. Ted Cruz hopes to prove his strength as the leading alternative to Trump. This is the first time voters will have weighed in a big way since violence at Trump's rallies became a major focus.
This is Steve Futterman at John Kasich headquarters in Berea, Ohio. For John Kasich, it is likely do or die tonight. If he can win here in his home state over Donald Trump, his presidential bid will continue. If he loses, it's likely to be over. Today, as Kasich voted, he sounded like the ultimate optimist.
We're going to win. I feel terrific. Do I seem like I'm nervous or uptight, or I'm having a great time?
The 2 most recent public opinion polls have put Kasich and Trump in a dead-even tie.
I'm Peter King with the Marco Rubio campaign in Miami. The pundits have been writing his campaign's obituary. Rubio has to win Florida's 99 delegates to keep going. Polls show him trailing badly in his home state, but he's been adamant about continuing his campaign in Utah tomorrow. One telling sign that may not happen, his primary night event is in the relatively small lobby of the big Florida International University sports arena, where the media may outnumber supporters.
In North Carolina, where the polls close in less than half an hour, voter turnout has been heavy.
We tend to be very excited voters anyway, but this year seems especially important.
It definitely feels like the presidential primary has gotten a lot more, publicity just in general. I mean, I think the personalities are probably bigger this time.
But I want to make sure the right person get in office.
In exit polling, Democrats and Republicans alike cited the economy and jobs as their top concern. And CBS News polling analyst Fred Backa says Republicans are trying to send a message.
Anger at Washington and at their party continues with the Republicans voting in their state primaries today. Nearly 9 in 10 Republican voters across the 5 primary states say they're dissatisfied with Washington, including 4 in 10 who are angry. But it's not just Washington. Nearly 6 in 10 Republican voters say they feel betrayed by their own party.
President Obama said today he's disturbed by the vulgar and divisive rhetoric in the campaign.
For it is a cycle that is not an accurate reflection of America. And it has to stop.
The Dow gained 22 points today, closing at 17,251. The NASDAQ down 21. Now this.
Not available in California. Here's a great idea for a business. Health food and vending machines. Who doesn't want healthier choices? Imagine the money you could make. Well, the guys at Fresh Healthy Vending have already thought of it and have secured locations ready for healthy vending machines. Most of our franchisees work fewer than 15 hours a week and are amazed at the income they're making and how fast their business is growing. So go to readyforfresh.com right now. Type in promo code 4545 and receive an immediate 50% savings on franchise fees. That's right, we'll pay half of new franchisees' fees. Readyforfresh.com 4545.
This is Charles Osgood. Auto Owners Insurance was founded in 1916, 3 years before cars had automatic windshield wipers. You wouldn't want to drive a car today without wipers, so you should never drive without Auto Owners by your side. Let our independent local agents help you with all your auto, home, life, or business insurance needs. Find your agent at AutoOwners.com. Auto Owners Insurance, 100 years of putting people first.
In Rome, call Burgess Insurance Services of Rome at 706-234-5680.
Heroin overdose deaths can often be traced directly back to prescription painkillers. Today, Dr. Tom Frieden, director of the Centers for Disease Control, issued strict new guidelines for doctors.
Start with the lowest possible effective dose and increase only gradually.
He says opioid painkillers should not be the first choice to treat back pain and arthritis. And even in cases of acute pain, Frieden says prescription painkillers are rarely needed more than 7 days. Extreme measures in response to an electrical fire yesterday in the D.C. Metro subway. Starting at midnight, the entire system will be shut down for 29 hours until 5 a.m. Thursday for a thorough inspection of electrical components. An about-face by the Obama administration, which last year proposed oil drilling off the Atlantic coast from Virginia south to Georgia. There's been vocal opposition from coastal communities, and today, Interior Secretary Sally Jewell took the plan off the table. You're listening to the CBS World News Roundup.
I'm Nick Celeste.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Superintendent of Hamilton County Schools, Rick Smith, announced his retirement on Monday. He said that last week he intended to finish out his term, which was supposed to end in 2019 at the end of his contract. That changed yesterday when he said, "Today I'm announcing my retirement from Hamilton County Schools. My retirement will be effective July the 1st, 2016. I'll be taking leave effective immediately. Until such time as an interim superintendent is named, day-to-day operations will be delegated to the executive staff members and the administrative assistants." Governor Haslam will have a new bill to sign. The intent of the bill is to assign